Today we're talking about the not so, or should I say my not so favorite part of St. John's, and that is the wildlife we have here. Today we're going to get into the reptiles, the crocodiles, the snakes, and the bugs. And while it is part of our ecosystem, it is one thing if you're moving here from out of state, you may not realize you're more than likely going to encounter. I'm Caitlin Blosser. I'm a local mom and realtor living in St. John's. If you could, please subscribe to my channel, like this video, and if you are looking to relocate here, I'd love the opportunity to be your realtor. Click that link in my bio and let's schedule a one-on-one Zoom call to see if I'm the right fit for your family. But without further ado, let's talk the wildlife here in St. John's. So I know when people move to Florida, they always think like, oh, beautiful beaches, palm trees, kind of that easy breezy weather. You know, it's the sunshine state, so people know it's going to be hot. But I think what is often misguided is, yes, we have the beach, but that is just a sliver of us, right? Once you go a couple hundred feet off of the river, or sorry, off of the ocean, you're going to have the river. And then we have a ton of wetlands, preserve areas full of trees, and then to help with all the development here, we have a ton of stormwater ponds and lakes. And that's the thing is with development, with most of the communities here in St. John's, you're going to have 3 options for lots. And that's because a lot of times when the developers are developing the land, they have to preserve so much of it. So much of it is going to stay the trees, whether because they have to preserve it or because it's just too wet to actually build on. And then there's also going to be lake lots. And those are those are your houses that are going to be on lots that back up to lakes or ponds. And almost always, these are man-made ponds that are help with stormwater drainage. So because now we've taken up trees and kind of the regular ecosystem that helps drain water when it rains, builders are required to put in these man-made ponds to help all the water go in. And then the third option of home is you're going to have like a house that backs up to a house, super simple fence in the middle. But between all the houses being put in amongst trees and these man-made lakes, it's created us living in all these animal ecosystems. So let's get into it. When people move here from out of state and they see these ponds, the first question out of every buyer's mouth is, are there gators in there? Do gators live in there? And I've for sure have seen alligators in these ponds, but it's usually short-lived. In my experience, it's usually the alligators are living in more of the wetlands, more of the marsh area. A lot of times they'll end up in these stormwater lakes because it's new development. You know, the gators are just trying to figure out, like, you ripped up their home. They're trying to figure it out and they end up in these lakes. If the alligator is bigger than 4 feet, Florida Wildlife, FWC, will come and take that alligator out. If it's less than 4 feet, they do not rehome it because it's a baby and they're hoping it'll find its mom or kind of find its way back home. As you guys know, we built in 2019, and in 2019, we had a little gator that would kind of make its way on people's driveways in the morning. I don't think FWC ever removed it because it was too small, but we haven't seen it since. Like, it was like a 2-3 week kind of trial period of this alligator in our neighborhood, and then it went away. I've seen them in other newer communities, but more of the established communities, you're not going to see those alligators in there because they've removed, or just the alligators are staying kind of in their own space. Aside from alligators, we also have a lot of geese. You know, the movies say geese migrate south for the winter, and we're the South. So we get a ton of geese, and they love these ponds. So expect all winter there to be a ton of geese. It is kind of cute because they do lay their eggs and have their babies while they're here. So you see like the mom and dad geese, and then you see the little geese following them. So that is cute, but that is the only thing cute about them because they are highly protected. So they love to hold up traffic because they cross roads all the time, and they love to poop everywhere. So expect your sidewalks to be covered in geese poop. One thing is alligators and geese don't like each other. So I actually had a listing once where the seller lived on a pond and had a decoy alligator in the pond because he hated the geese because they do poop everywhere. And so every open house, people would be like, oh my gosh, there's an alligator in the pond. And we'd always have to be like, no, it's just a decoy to keep the geese away. So if you do live on a lake lot and you want to get rid of geese, highly recommend. It was just like an alligator head decoy. And it worked wonder. I never saw geese there. Moving on from alligators and geese, let's talk snakes. So Florida, tons of snakes. So I highly recommend you get updated or up to date on all the sayings like black and yellow, kiss a fellow. I'm not updated on them, but you should, because there's so many snakes here. We unfortunately do have water moccasins. And again, there's a lot of concern about these lake lots, but what I found is that most of all this wildlife is actually going to be living in the preserve or the conservation areas of neighborhoods, because again, this lake is more man-made and it is surrounded by houses, where the preserves and the conservation is kind of their ecosystem that's untouched, not having lawnmowers go by, not having people all the time. The front of our neighborhood has, like, you kind of drive to a preserve before you get to all the houses. And this week alone, we've had 2 water moccasin sightings, where cars have stopped and tried to run them over or kill them just because they are so dangerous. We live on a lake lot, and we've had 1 snake encounter, and it was just a little black snake when we first put our pool in. So not saying which lot is better, just know you're going to get wildlife on both, but it does seem to be the natural habitat. Habitat kind of has some more. We do have friends who have bought snake vibrators, where I want to say Google it, but I don't know if you should Google it. But it is a snake vibrator. You put, like, there are little things you put in your yard, and I guess it sends off a vibration to keep the snakes away. She says they work great after she had a couple snake sightings. And then moving on from snakes, let's talk bugs. Bugs are like the one Florida thing that is obviously most common that I cannot do. It is the one thing that I just can't do. So because we have a lot of wetness here, between the wetlands, between the stormwater drains, between everything else, we are obviously going to have a ton of mosquitoes. And with those mosquitoes, we also have what's called midges. And midges are actually blind mosquitoes. To me, they're not the shape of mosquitoes. Like, they're much smaller. They don't bite you, but they are just everywhere. To me, they're kind of like gnats. And they lay their eggs on, like, water surfaces, like these stormwater ponds. And it seems like in our neighborhood, the people who live on the ponds have so many more problem with midges than people on preserves. So that's a little tidbit. We've kind of addressed it by having, what's it called? Like the lights you put out that attract the bugs at night, bug zappers. A lot of HOAs stock their ponds with fish, because the fish, like bass fish and stuff, will actually eat the larva, kind of preventing the new hatchlings of the midges. And that is another thing living in these ponds. Although they are stormwater retention ponds, they're great for fishing. Like, my kids and my husband love just going out and fishing the ponds. And a lot of the ponds are connected because they are man-made. So you'll get kind of a variety of fish going from pond to pond. Let's see, we talked midges, mosquitoes. Let's talk palmetto bugs. So in Florida, we like to call them palmetto bugs, but they're really just a cockroach. And again, cockroaches love wet things. And because we are in a humid environment, you will see a lot of cockroaches or palmetto bugs here. So keep that in mind. We have the usual ticks. What else? Deer. We have a lot of deer here. And in the more established neighborhoods like Cimarron, Southampton, St. John's Golf and Country Club, St. John's Forest, you will see deer just when you're out golfing, just deer just walking by. They've kind of made their homes and have lived probably generation after generation in the preserves of the neighborhood. And so it's kind of like they live in that neighborhood too. In the newer neighborhoods, you don't see the deer as often. They seem to just kind of be running through sporadically. Where in the more established neighborhoods, it's kind of like they know the roads and know where to be and where not to be. But again, you have to remember, in St. John's, we have a ton of development. We are kind of in that development phase. So it is a lot of ripping up wetlands, ripping up ecosystems. And so if you're looking to build, understand that those first couple years, while all the land is being ripped up, you're going to see kind of I don't want to say an overdosage, but you're going to see an overdosage of wildlife until everything that lived there kind of finds its new home. So keep that in mind. but bugs do stay around. That is one thing that has not gone away since construction has stopped. But don't let my video today prevent you from moving to St. John. Just kind of want to be realistic. As you guys know, we lived in Georgia before, and kind of the problems we have here, we didn't have there. We had other things up there. So keep that in mind when you're moving down here. Invest in a good bug spray. I get eaten alive. My husband does not. So I keep bug spray in my car, in my golf bag, on our back patio. Like, bug spray is my life. He can survive without it. So keep that in mind. But as always, I'm Caitlin Blosser, local mom and realtor, living in the wildlife, or the wild St. John's. If you ever have any questions, feel free to reach out. That link in my bio will set you up with a one-on-one appointment for me. As always, you can email me, leave a comment. Love to connect with you. Have a great day, and see you next Friday.